Good morning. I got my hearing aids turned off and I have my coffee. So sit down, relax, take a little time. I don't know how long I'll talk this morning. Somebody commented yesterday, one that has started her YouTube, senioritis, Debbie, I forget her last name. But anyhow, she just started and she's got like 8 subscribers, senioritis, and she's got naturally curly hair, and she's 73. And she's got several, well, not too many videos on. But she said, how do you think of so many things to talk about? I don't know. It just, the Lord helps me. And I just talk about whatever. And y'all are so faithful. So I appreciate it very much. First thing I wanted to show you this morning, I found this laying there. I was looking through my pictures the other day. Now this was when I was 48 years old. No, I think I might have been 46. Buddy was 48. And here is Buddy, #1 husband, and me. Now that's a wig, because I've been wearing wigs since I was 26. Look at those big old glasses. They came back in style. See that? Big old glasses. And we all wore them back then. Let's see, that would have been in 1980. Many years ago. Well, I just thought I'd show you that. So today, James and I was talking about somebody we know that took an overdose of sleeping pills because life is hard for them and they're not well and they're in and out of the hospital. And somebody found this person when they had taken an overdose. So I was talking with Buddy about it this morning, and I said, honey, you know the Bible says we all have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. And that's Philippians, 2nd chapter, 12th verse. Paul was talking to the other apostles. And it says, Paul was saying to them, therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, because he's gone, he wrote a letter. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And that really means in awe of God. Not that he's going to punish you, because we make our own choices. And that is my bottom line point, is human beings, God gave us free choice. And we make our own choices. Don't you like my scene this morning? That's a river over in Japan. I tell you what, since I found that my TV can give me a background anytime different that I want it, I'm taking advantage and drinking my coffee and talking to y'all. But anyhow, this girl that, well, she's 73, Debbie Connor, I think her name is, and she started a YouTube about a week or two ago. I told her, go for it. She was a commenter, and she was commenting, and she says, I think I have a lot to say, so I'm going to start me. I said, go for it. Go at more people, the better. I mean, that's okay with me, because share your life story. Somebody might like it, and I think people are already liking her quite a bit. I like her. But like they tell you on YouTube, they tell you, if you want to get some ideas, look at some other people and get inspired. So I watched Grandma Chit Chat with Granny Pat. I watch her often, and Mrs. Peach, Thrifty Living, and well, I watched quite a few of them. Can't remember all of them, but those are 2 I can think of right now. And of course, I've started watching Debbie, and she is interesting. She's got frizzy, naturally curly hair, which I think is lovely. I mean, when I was 9 years old, I had an aunt. See, my hair was black when I was young and straight as a stick, and I had to put it up in pin curls and rags and everything to keep a little curl, and I wanted curl. I didn't like that straight stick hair. So my Aunt Nellie gave me a permanent wave, and I've told this before. And my hair, when I came out of there, they put you in this chair, and they put these hot things on your head and the hood over, and you had to sit there for about 30 minutes. And when you got done, you have Debbie's hairdo. I had it. I thought I was beautiful. I was in the 3rd grade, and we were on vacation. That's why Aunt Nellie, she had a beauty shop, had time to give me a permanent wave. So when I went back to school, I said, nobody's gonna know me. I'm so different. I am so as cute as a button. I'm a little narcissistic, probably, whatever that means. Anyway, so I had curly hair like Debbie. Y'all check her out. There's some others out there that I like to watch cook that I don't cook. But this morning, I made, well, I don't usually cook mushrooms. But this, I went to Kroger or somewhere, Myers or someplace. I think it was Kroger. And they had mushrooms, the sliced ones, on special. So I bought a big batch of them. And I looked on the internet. I like mushrooms crispy. Can you do the sliced ones crispy? And there, yes, you could. So this morning, these are my crispy mushrooms that I cooked. And I've already been nibbling on them. Let's see. I had another picture of them. Let me see. Can you see them up close? See that? And I put some garlic. What I did was I had an egg wash. I just beat up a couple of eggs and put them in, and then I used flour and cornstarch, and they're crispy. And I sprinkled garlic, salt and pepper, and a little Lowry's. And I put grease. I used vegetable oil about that deep in my big iron skillet. And I fried them before I sat down to talk to y'all. And I've been nibbling them. Oh my, they did turn out good. So we'll have them for lunch. And I don't know what else. Oh yeah, yesterday I made in the Ninja Foodie the smoked sausage with cabbage and potatoes. I didn't have any carrots. And I said, now what can I substitute? I just opened a can of green beans and dumped it in with the smoked sauce. And this time I put the smoked sausage in the Ninja, set it for 2 minutes. James said, this is really good. Oh, and this is one of my 50-cent blouses I bought. 50 cents. Isn't it cute? I like the padded shoulders. So you know this is a vintage blouse that somebody gave that was hanging in their closet probably 30 years. It may be older than I am. I don't think so. I just have fun. But you know, I was talking about people taking their own life, and this person we know took that overdose, and it upset us very much because we really care for this person, and we're praying that they don't do that. Because you wonder, are they going to try again? And I prayed, dear God, don't let them do it anymore. Don't let them do it anymore, Lord. Speak to their heart. Give them a reason to live. We make our own decisions, our own choices. And I guess we had another one. You know, I had a great grandson married to my granddaughter, my favorite granddaughter, and he took his life about 1.5 years ago with a gun, and he was out of here instantly. It was awful. The tragedy was unbearable. But these kind of things happen. And you know what you have to do? You have to just keep on keeping on. Now, I heard this old preacher say to us one time, well, now we're going on the evangelistic field, which means you go preach different churches from week to week. And we preached, me and Buddy, Sunday through Wednesday. And so anyhow, I was able to get bookings. I'm a go-getter. And my niece, Sandra Burns, used to be, she's married now, and she's just the most brilliant girl and such a super Christian. She worked at headquarters in Springfield, and so she sent me a bunch of addresses of all the Assemblies of God. And so I wrote letters and sent cassettes, and the next thing you know, the Lord was going before us. We traveled on love offering, which means give us whatever you want to. We trust the Lord. Folks, you can trust the Lord, because when Buddy said he was going on the evangelistic field, you know what I told him? Because I was a dog groomer, making real good money, and 2 of my daughters was working for me at the time. We had a shop going that was A1. Small dogs only. But I liked the little ones, the poodles and the Yorkies and the schnauzers. Love schnauzers. They're so smart. Poodles are a little bit dumb sometimes. So I said, go on, I'll support you. he says, oh, come on and see what the Lord will do. So I did go, and we traveled 14 years full time. West Virginia was very interesting, down in those mountains. We met so many wonderful people in West Virginia. And then we went to New Jersey. And I tell you what, each states are different. So I had never been to New Jersey. Churches, Assemblies of God is what we are and was. And so when you go up there, there's a lot of Italians. And when they greet you in church, they kiss you here, they kiss you there. Well, that had never happened to me, that I was getting kissed on each cheek. Just barely, sometimes they just almost miss you and kiss you on the cheek. I just started kissing them back, when is Rome, do as the Romans do. So they were so hospitable in New Jersey, and we got to go eat with this one family. Now, I'm not trying to depress you today, honest, but, bad things happen and horrible things happen. But this one Italian family invited us to come eat with them. And it was different. I had never, when they said we had spaghetti, it was delicious, but they had a loaf of bread on the table. And when you want a piece of bread, you just tear you off a piece of bread. And come to find out, he had been with the mafia before he gave his heart to the Lord. And so he told him, he said, I'm not in the mafia no more. I'm going to make my life another way. And I'm not going to do that anymore. God forbids it. And I'm quitting. And they said, well, the only way you can quit, you've got to move away. You cannot live here in New York and New Jersey, because they do both states, New York and New Jersey. And he moved away. He moved to Florida and took his family. And I know what happened. They were gone 5 years, and they didn't like it where they had moved to. He said, well, everything is over. They have forgot it now. They'll leave me alone. They won't bother me, because they had told him, if you come back, you are a dead person. He said, I don't believe they'll do it. I just don't think they will. So they moved back to New Jersey. And he was over in New York, I think. And he was assassinated right on the street. Somebody shot him. They never caught him, because the mafia takes care of their own. And he's gone. And so that left his widow 5 years later, still with those children. And that's a true story. But you run into all kinds of things on the evangelistic field, and we had some interesting things, but I hated that so bad when I heard that he had been murdered, because it was such a fun time we had with him, and I still remember it with fondness, sitting there down at dinner. Then I remember one Thanksgiving, we went to this church, and I believe it was down in, I'm trying to think, I don't remember if it was Oklahoma. But anyway, we went, and it was a poor little church out in the country, and the pastor and his wife, they had 4 children. And so they said, you've got to come in and eat Thanksgiving dinner with us. I didn't want to, because I had a 5th wheel, and I could cook everything and do everything I wanted to do, and I'm an independent person. That's a fact, Jack. So I said, oh, no, you don't have to do it. Oh, we already got the turkey. Everything is ready. You just come on over. We'll let you know when it's on the table. So they came and knocked on the door and told us dinner was ready. So we went over, and everybody was sitting around the table. And I think Buddy prayed and turned thanks and for all our blessings and everything. But while he was doing that, and I was peeking, those kids were getting them bites of stuff with their fingers and their hands right off of the table. Oh, land, that just aggravated me, because talk about germs. I don't like germs. So anyway, they had a son that was 16 years old, and a handsome boy. And we found out a year later that he had drowned, and they lost their oldest son. See, these things happen. Bad things happen to good people, and we don't understand it. But I still trust the Lord. And when Buddy got so sick with cancer, I didn't understand it. And people were saying to me, well, you're outgoing and you talk all the time. Are you going to carry on the ministry? I said, nope, not me. That was his calling. My calling is on a one-on-one. And I talk to people and I pray with them when I meet them at the Walmart or wherever. If they know who I am and they say, "Oh, Sister Baird, pray for me," would you? And I just grab their hand and we just pray right then and there. And if they need the Lord, we pray, Jesus, forgive them of their sins, and they get saved right there in the Walmart or wherever. I'll never forget. I knew this. I still know her. This very famous woman in this town who is in real estate, and she was going through a hard time. And I ran into her one day in the bread department, one of those grocery stores, and she said, "I'm going through such a hard time, and my husband or boyfriend, her beloved significant other, whoever, I don't remember which one, I think it was her husband. This has been many years ago." She said, "Would you pray for me? Would you pray about this with me? Or would you pray for it?" And I said, "Yes." And so I grabbed her hand and we prayed. And God answered her prayer in the affirmative. And he does. Sometimes he says no. Sometimes he says, wait a while. Sometimes he says yes. And you don't know. The Bible says you have not because you ask not, or you ask amiss. It's up to him. So we ask because you don't know for sure. So anyhow, he answered in the affirmative, and that situation was handled by the Lord. So from then on, she would phone me and say, "I've got a problem. Could we pray together?" And so she was my prayer partner for a long time. And when I met Anne Marie, the German girl that's already went to heaven, I prayed God send me a friend. After Floyd passed away, I didn't have many friends, and I met her walking at the we was at the mall. I used to walk at the mall. I've always walked. And now James and I are doing it every morning down at the YMCA. We don't do it on Saturday, but we've been to the thrift store, and I didn't need anything, so I didn't even look again. Fact is, a couple of things I got for 50 cents was too small. I just gave it back to them. There's other smaller people than me around. They can have it. I told her I don't want my money back. I don't want to trade it. I've got 8 more, and this one fits good. Padded shoulder. Like I say, probably this one was hanging in somebody's closet for 40, 50 years, and probably it might be like an estate, or a grandma like me says, "I'm tired of that one." And so they donate it to the Methodist thrift store, which they were selling all of them for 50 cents each. And I bought 10, and like I say, I've got 2 left. And I got a sweater, and it was a beautiful color. But when I put it on, the arms in it, I thought I could push them up and they would work good. Bad. Wrong idea. You never know unless you try. That's what I told that Debbie on senioritis that has started her YouTube channel, because she made a comment that she was 73 and she watches me and others, and she said, "You know, I ought to start one. Maybe I'll start one." I've thought about it. I told her, go for it. Do it. So now I think she's got 8 subscribers. So y'all check her out. Her name is Debbie Comer. Well, it's senioritis. And there's a lot of senioritis. Just look for the one that's got natural curly hair that sticks out like this, and see if you can find her. And of course, let's see, who else? Oh yeah, Mrs. Peach, Thrifty Living. I watch her. Sometimes she comes up with some good ideas. They advise you on YouTube. Watch the other YouTubers and get inspired. Well, I get inspired from Granny Pat, Chit Chat with Granny Pat, which is one of my favorite grandmas. I've been watching her a long time. And she was telling about baptizings the other day. And when you get baptized in the river, and when her sister got baptized in the baptistry, and that was interesting. So check her out. She said when her sister got baptized, and see, like me, I think they were afraid they were going to get drowned. She said the preacher put the handkerchief on, the pastor put it on nose and mouth and put her in the baptistry, and her feet came up flopping like that, and that was cute. Pat, I like that. That was so interesting. That inspired me that one of these times I'm going to tell y'all about when I got baptized. I was 16, and I've been to some baptisms, some good baptisms, and Pat has too. So anyway, we like to tell. So you inspire me, Pat. Keep up the good work, and we're getting to the place. What are we going to talk about next? And that's what this new girl, Debbie, said. How do you think so many things to talk about? Well, I've told about all the miracles that's happened in my life in the past 300 or 400 videos I've done. And really, my brother pointed out to me, Denny is such a blessing. Now, I have told you all more than once, I am not good at math. Now, my vocabulary is good, and I read a lot. But he said, sis, you started in your YouTube in 23. I said, I thought it was 24. No. I started in December 2023. But it's only been going on, well, let's see, I don't know, a little over a year. Next December, when we get to December, will be 2 years. So it's been a year and so many months. But it's been fun. And I've got to the place where I talk about God only knows what. And I'm just so happy with my scenery and back. Isn't that something? And I thought of that on my own. The Lord inspired me, I'm sure. But I researched it then because I think maybe you could use the TV as a background for pictures and you could have a different scene all the time. So what I did was I went on Google and I said, do video people ever use televisions as a background when they're doing their videos? Well, yes, they do. And I thought of that on my own, but a lot of people thought of it before I did. And then I learned how to do it. So you can learn things at 91. You sure can. Oh, I just have to slow down sometimes, people, but I enjoy it. So I don't know what we're going to do the rest of the day. But I cooked some fried mushrooms, and they're waiting on us for lunch. And they turned out so good and crispy. Put a little cornstarch in your flour. I got the recipe off of the internet. The internet is a blessing, isn't it? You can just, when I was younger, and I have always researched, I would go to the library, and whatever I wanted to look up, I had to look at the encyclopedias. And you could only take the encyclopedia out to a desk at the library. You couldn't take it home. And whatever you wanted to research, you just looked at that, and they only let you have one encyclopedia at a time to take to a table and sit down and research whatever you want to learn about. And I used to do that. And then when I finally got a computer, a laptop, I got a laptop, and I didn't know how to run it. They said, we will give you lessons down at the library. And they already had computers. So you know what I did? I used to go to the library all the time. So I'd go to the library, and they say, now, which search engine do you want? I said, what is a search engine? Well, they said it's either Google or this or that or the other. I use Google all the time. And you know what? They're leftists. They really are. And I read on Facebook this morning someone I know that said, if you're a Democrat, get out of, or if you're not a Democrat, get out of my life. I don't want to get out of their life. I like that person. But that's what was said. So I think we should keep communication open. I really do. And so they need to be polite and keep civil to one another. Okay, so I may not like your politics. I may not like what you're doing. I may not like your opinions. But I can be civil and say, is that right? Because I've got a little relative that I talk to every once in a while, and I just have to sit sometimes and say, is that right? Well, you don't have to be hateful and say that's a bunch of bull. My mom used to say, and I didn't use the rest of that, steer manure, which is the same as bull poop. I don't say that other. Of course, I do slip sometimes and use that S word, which is poop. But I told James, I said, you know, honey, when I hit my finger or something, I'll say that, and it. When I was younger, I wasn't that dedicated to the Lord at times, and so it slips out sometimes that I say right away, Lord, forgive me. It's not a cuss word. It's just vulgar. Not nice. But poop don't get it like that other word does. Ain't I right? So I'm sitting here thinking, now what else would I want to share with you all? Oh yeah, when I would have one encyclopedia out. Now what was terrible, and I can tell you good things and bad things, but what was awful, when Buddy got cancer of the esophagus, me and my sister went to, we have a university out the road from me, and they can go on campus and they can live on campus, and they have a big library. And so we went to their library and researched esophageal cancer. And they said, it is bad, because he had it stage 4. And we knew right then and there, before the doctor said that he would not live. And he didn't. But he lived about 6 months. And they put a tube in, and he was fed by a tube. But he had 6 more months of togetherness. And I was thankful for that. Though we had 44 years in all. And then number 2, I tell you what, I married him for friendship, for partnership. I was not in love, but he was a nice man, stingy as they come. And I did have funds, so he just wanted me to pay for everything. And I told him, I said, look, fella, Floyd, if you don't buy the groceries, I don't cook. I mean, listen here, you pay half the utilities and you pay half of everything. Now, I didn't mind taking care of other stuff, but I'm not going to cook unless you buy the groceries. So he bought all the groceries. I'd go to the store, and he'd get out of the car with me, and he'd shop with me. And he'd say, is it going to be that much? I said, yes, it is. And so he'd fork it over. I was firm for all those years until he got Alzheimer's. And then I got power of attorney. So I started cashing his checks and taking care of everything, because those last 2 years that he lived with me, he wasn't able to do anything or to argue with me much, but he loved his car. And he had this pretty red car that he had bought brand new. It was a little Chevy, I believe, and it was a lovely car. Well, one day, he backed it. I have a 2-car garage here. I built that garage so that he would be out of the house working on bicycles, because he loved to work on bicycles. And I told him I wasn't living out in the country. He had a house out in the country, but I told him I don't live out there. But it was 3 acres and a 3-bedroom house, but it was 12 miles out of town. No way, Jose, am I going to live out there in the country? So I said, either you live here with me or it's a no-go. He said, I'll live with you. So he lived with me, and so he said he don't have no place to work on bikes. So I built a 2-car garage. And therefore and we could put our cars in it. So he put his little red car in it, and he drove a lot of time, and I had a car, and he did the main driving, taking us. We would walk all the time. I met him walking at the mall. He was walking with a couple of other guys, and I got acquainted. I'm outgoing. So, and he was a nice man and good looking and tall. I like tall men. This is the tallest one I've ever had, is number 3. He's 6'3". Fact is, he said when he married me, he looked at me and he at our wedding pictures, and I know this has been on TikTok and been a lot of places, but he looked at those wedding pictures and he said, I didn't realize you was so short, honey, till I looking at these wedding pictures. I said, I walk tall. Some of us short women walk tall. And that guy put that on TikTok and some other clips like that. But Floyd was a pretty nice man. I mean, we went to Florida. I bought a motorhome, and we would go to Florida every winter, and we would park a lot of places that was free. And that was a lot of years ago, see? So you could go and there was this one big pond that we parked around. And all the campers, and you know me, I had generator, so we was cool when we wanted to be cool. And we, back then, I guess y'all don't remember it, but they had little satellite dishes about so big. Well, I was an artist and I painted. And a lot of those people had those little satellite dishes. And we had one, me and Floyd. And so I could run my generator and I'd put my little dish out. And Mr. Miller, a man that had helped being buddy with a big 6-foot satellite dish, which we had on our 45-foot fifth wheel when we traveled on the evangelistic field. You have to have a compass and a directional, and I could get that thing up in the sky and tune satellite in right like that. And another thing I did was, being as I was an artist, I painted my little thing, my little dish. You could paint on it, make pretty pictures, and I had my paints with me, and people would pay me to paint their satellite dish, and I could make money. My daughter said, "Mom, you could make money anywhere you are." And usually I do, but you know what? I did not know that YouTube paid money after so long a time. After you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. I wonder if Debbie knows that. These new people that start don't always know all that stuff, and I didn't. But I've got this friend it's James's friend, really, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he'd had one for years. He used to sell barbecue sauce that he had made himself because he's a cook. He does fishing and all kinds of things on his YouTube. That's 967 Andy. Look him up too. And so Andy told me about all this stuff, and that they do pay you, and and then you can look at your analytics. I didn't know that either. So I learned a lot of stuff. Now Debbie knows how to look at her analytics. Deborah is her name, I think, but I've been calling her Deb for short. But she's got this curly hair, so you'll know who she is when you go into senioritis. And I don't remember some of the others. You know, you can tap on that person. When you get on YouTube and people make comments, you can tap on their picture or whatever, or initial, and you can see if they have anything on YouTube or not. And that's how I have found Clarence, who is always talking about the Eagles and football. And one thing, he lives up in New Jersey, and he's making comments all the time. He's got other grandmas. He adopts grandmas. I think that's his hobby. And he knows all of them that cook and everything. And one of them said the other day, "I'm glad to see you here, Clarence." And I learned his name was Clarence. So I tapped on his picture on when he made a comment, and he's got videos on. So I watched some of his videos, and I had to reprimand him a little bit one day. But I just do what grandma's got to do. Point him down the right path, and he is a Christian. He does go to church, but he needs to clean his mouth up. My mom said if you say bad words, you're going to wash your mouth out with soap. And some of our young people need it today. It's vulgar when they use that F word. And I got a granddaughter, great-granddaughter, that was going to come help me clean house, okay? We made the appointment. She was supposed to come yesterday. So here it got, it was 12:30. And James and I were here at my house, and you know, I have to do something over the morning, but by afternoon I want to take a nap. But I thought, do I really want to clean house today? And so I thought, no, I don't. So I texted Leandra. She didn't answer, so I called her. So she answered. And by then, she had texted me and said she was going to be a little late. She's a teenager, but she drives. She's got her own car. I think she's 17. She said, "I'm going to be a little bit late." So I called her. She said, "What, Mama?" I said, "Well, where are you at?" She said, "Well, I'm about 20 minutes away." That's exactly means she had not started hardly, because that's where she lives, 20 minutes away. I said, "Are you still close to home?" She said, "Yeah, I just left." I said, "Honey, let's not clean house today. I'm not in the mood. could we do it another time? And I'm going to have to do it in the morning sometime. She said, okay with me. So she went home, and I took me a nap, and I felt better. But it seems like now that I'm as old as I am, if I don't get I can't work 1:30, and she wouldn't have got here till 1:30 because she was running late, and the appointment was 1. I wouldn't even felt like I wasn't going to do that much labor or anything. She was going to wash the windows and run the vacuum and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, James, don't watch these. He's 8 years younger. I've got some window washing stuff. I can show him how to do it. I can point to it of a morning. Honey, would you mind getting this window right here? And I'll act like I'm going to do it. Guess what happened? I'm faking. He'll do it sure enough. And then sometimes if I want to run the vacuum, I'll get it out, and I catch him when he's not real busy, and he'll take the vacuum cleaner right away from me and do it himself. I'm not dumb. Gotta learn how to handle your man. He don't watch my videos anymore, so he don't know. It's perfectly fair. It's not dishonest. No, it's just another way to get him to get her done. And he'll do it. And I appreciate it when he does those things like that. Well, I got my feet treated. That means I've been talking 30 minutes. Should I go for 54 minutes like Chit Chat Granny Pat does? I don't think there's a person out there that would watch me 54 minutes. I don't think I can talk that long. And now I've went 36 minutes. Heavens to Murgatroyd. That's one of my sayings. I think I'm done. But I've had fun. And my coffee's not all gone. All I'll have to do is warm it up. I got a good book going, and I haven't watched. I like to watch Fox News and see what all's going on. We'll see. Talk to you later. And walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I have prayed for each and every one of you. You know, I say, Lord, you know where they're at. And the ones that need you, touch them, heal them, be with them, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Bye-bye.